Welcome everybody to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host
EGO.
CGO or George. Today is the 9th of March, 2026. Just a couple things to talk about. Number one, in one of the biggest upsets, because the greatest team in history, Brentford, lost today to West Ham. Actually, it was not. I mean, West Ham have been playing great, and they were at home, and it was in penalty shootout, but we will talk about it. The FA Cup quarterfinal draw came out today. Those fixtures are Southampton hosting Arsenal, Chelsea hosting Port Vale, Manchester City hosting Liverpool, and West Ham hosting Leeds. Then we also have the Champions League fixtures for this week: Galatasaray, Liverpool, Newcastle, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Tottenham, Atalanta, Bayern, Leverkusen, Arsenal, PSG, Chelsea, Bodo Glimt, Sporting, and Real Madrid, Man City. George, we're going to start with this Brentford game. It was a pretty even game. Ended up
Yes.
2-2. Dango Owatara did a Panelka. They kind of missed it. But West Ham hit five perfect penalties. They were like, Comey Kelleher is one of the best penalty stopping, goalkeepers I've seen. No, he had zero chance at these. George, I know we've talked about Panelkas before. Do you feel like they're ever justified? Do you feel like that Dango thing is Zidane did one in a World Cup final that worked out, so he's also Zidane, and Dango Owatara is not. So, George, do you feel like a Panelka is ever justified?
Well, one thing I notice is that not every player knows how to play the penalty, if you ask me, because a lot of technique are required if you want to play the penalty. We saw the way Brian Diaz did it at the AFCON final at a very critical point where he's supposed to bury the ball into the net. He did a penalty. And if you look at the way Dango Ouattara has played it, it was similar to that of Brian Diaz. And
Yeah.
the keeper Areola didn't even waste his time. He didn't move because he was waiting for him to take the ball, and he just played it, and it was so terrible. If you ask me, that was a horrible penalty. If you ask me, it wasn't a good one, and I feel he let down his team because if you look at all the penalties that were taken, both by the Western players and the other three players that took the penalty for Brentford, you see that those penalties were well taken. It's difficult for goalkeepers to get them because most times they play it even to the roof. So it was not a penalty that a keeper would easily catch. But that of Dango was so easy. And even the commentator said this is a very horrible penalty. For me, everybody must not play penalty. It requires a lot of skill, a lot of technique for you to play it.
Yes.
So
I feel
it
I
was
feel like
well,
it's
it was
very
terribly executed, if you ask me.
I very rarely see these executed great. I remember Pirlo doing one, and I think it was in Euro or World Cup knockout stage one time that was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. When it works out, it's great, but like it just it hit it as hard as you can to the corner. If the keeper makes a great save, he makes a great. Is my perspective. But again, I feel like these guys in the locker room have insights that I don't have and videos that I don't have. Uh, but there's times I'm looking at it. You know what? I'm going to stand by. I think Panelka is never justified. And Dango Owatara, he's had a great season. He had a bad
Yeah.
day. George, can we talk one more thing before we move on to the FA Cup? The Brentford second goal, the penalty. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was kind of weak. It was a push in the back that we've talked about, like the consistency across the season. I felt that this is no different than the push that Kolo Muane put on Gabriel a couple weeks ago, or the push that I think it was Harry Wilson did against Tottenham the following week. I don't feel like this should be a penalty. I'll take it. I don't think it impacted the match because Brentford were pushing and would have equalized, and it was just like 83rd minute, and that's like mentality wise, this team was on top and would have scored. So it's low consequences. But George, did you see it, and do you think that that should be a penalty?
See, that's why I tell you in the English referees most times when they do their officiating, one of the biggest problem we have is that inconsistency. If we want to make that a penalty, then that should also apply in every game. It's not in some games if there's a slight touch, you award a penalty. In some games, if there is a slight touch, you say no, it's not a penalty. or you overruled the goal that was scored as a result of that. That is one of the biggest problem with the Premier League, with the English referees. I think they need to do something about this, where we can have consistency when decisions are made. I don't know how this can be structured, but something has to be done so that we don't have different or varying decisions on similar incidents. I don't think, for me, it's good for the team. Most times when it favors our teams, we don't see anything wrong with it. But a time would come, it will work against you, and you'll be very upset. So for me, I think it's very important we have fairness when it comes to decision making. I know it's not easy for the referees, but if something can be brought in, maybe if we can have some kind of third party getting involved when it comes to maybe decisions VAR makes during the game, I think that might really help a lot. If that's what I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah. So I don't know the particular referee for this game, so I just want to call out that this is different competition than the other two incidents that I brought up. But it's a consistency issue that needs to be done in every competition. I don't feel like that should ever be a penalty, even though it obviously benefited my team in this particular case. And George, there's not really a whole lot more to talk about. We're both in agreement. We'll talk more on a slower day about potential options there for accountability and why those have not been implemented. But let's move on to the FA Cup draw. So, George, Southampton, Arsenal. Port Vale kind of got an easy draw away at Chelsea, so I think they're probably great, happy there. Manchester City hosting Liverpool in the biggest matchup, and then West Ham hosting Leeds. George, I don't think we had brought up Manchester City hosting Liverpool. Obviously, that's the big matchup of this round. I was
Yes.
joking about Port Vale versus Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea is probably happy with that draw, probably about as easy as you can get at home. But Port Vale is still professional and will still. Yeah. So Manchester City hosting Liverpool. What are you thinking here, George? Do you feel like Liverpool have a chance here? These are two big teams. There's obviously a lot of talent on Liverpool, despite their downside, their imbalance this season and their lack of success. What do you think?
If I want to be honest with you, I think Manchester City is going to defeat Liverpool. Remember, they've played in the Premier League twice this season, and in both cases, Manchester City came out tops. They defeated them at Etihad 3-0, and they went played at Anfield. I think 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, they got a 2-1 victory. They came back from behind and won that game. And with the way Liverpool team is currently, we don't see much of consistency when it comes to good performance. So I'm very skeptical if they have what it takes to defeat Manchester City. I'm sure most of their fans would have preferred maybe a Port Vale or a Southampton or Leeds United instead of playing Manchester City at this stage. So if you
I
ask me,
personally, I was surprised that Manchester City didn't draw Port Vale at home. It would have been consistent with their draws in the last couple of years of the FA Cup.
so for if you ask me, I think it's going to. I think Manchester City will likely win that game, though it's going to be very tough. Except maybe other factors come in, maybe injury or maybe Manchester
Yeah,
City gets a red card. That is the kind of stuff that can give Liverpool a chance in that game. But if you ask me, based on
yeah.
current form, I think Manchester City should carry the day.
George, in the next 2 months, Arsenal have to play. City have to play Arsenal. They have to play Real Madrid twice. If they beat Real Madrid twice, they have to play. I mean, I don't know. I think it's probably going to be Bayern twice. They have to play Liverpool now. In this, like on paper, I think City are going to be favorites in every game. But I think that the way the world works, though, is that these things compound, and like City is a very good team, but not as elite as they were 2, 3, 4 years ago, and that it is likely that almost certain that they will lose one of these big games. And I think that there's no reason that Liverpool at home, if it's sandwiched between a Bayern Munich home and away or a Real Madrid and an Arsenal, like it's a really difficult fixture list for City. I don't think I think they're good enough to win one a trophy this year, major trophy, either Premier
Yes.
League or Champions League. I don't think this is not a treble winning team without a lot of luck at this point. But they will lose points and or drop a knockout against a lesser team at some point. And I feel like Liverpool is, could absolutely win this and has a lot of talent, and it has not a lot to play for and really are hungry. Their players on Liverpool hungry for trophies. And I'm really excited to see Liverpool going to Etihad on a revenge mission. this season. George, what about these other matchups? We have um,
Definitely
South.
Arsenal. Definitely Arsenal will carry the day against Southampton. I don't think Southampton can stand the firepowers of Arsenal in that game. So it's
Just like
something.
Wrexham couldn't stand Chelsea, but except they could.
Well, at the end of the day, Chelsea came out victorious, even though lots of fans were very disappointed with the performance. When you look at the quality of players that played, somehow some people were not really were not really surprised because some of these players that played those games, I mean, that played that game, you notice that a lot of Chelsea fans have been complaining about the way they perform. So the way the Chelsea played that game for me, I was not totally surprised because some of these players, complaints have been made about the way they play, and a lot of fans don't think they are up to the standard of Chelsea, if you ask me. So the things like this happen. I know if the regular players, the starting 11 of Chelsea had played that game, I'm sure it would have been a different ball game, if you ask me.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, but yeah, that's why they play the games. I mean, I know that even in previous years, Southampton was got relegated twice from the Premier League. Arsenal, I believe, dropped points at St. Mary's once or twice. That they probably shouldn't have on paper. An FA Cup tie is very different. Just like Man City, I do feel like Arsenal is a good team, but probably not as good as treble-winning teams in the past. They're probably favorites in almost every match they're in, but just how math works, they probably will not win all of those games. And so this team can absolutely drop points. I'm excited to see just where exactly they fall over the next couple months. I do believe they'll win one trophy. I don't believe they'll win two or three trophies.
So
Just
which
where
teams
I'm at.
are you predicting for the semifinals? If you ask me, I'm predicting Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and West Ham.
Yeah, I do think Leeds will beat West Ham just because I do feel like Leeds has to feel a little safer. Their performances in the Premier League have been a little stronger, and so I feel like, will be safer earlier and we'll be able to put more energy into this match. Again, George, I do think I'm going to say Liverpool will beat Man City. I think Man City will win one of the major trophies. I'm going to say Premier League, and I don't think that they I think they'll get knocked out of FA Cup and Champions League a little earlier and come with the Premier League is my prediction.
Okay, so that means we disagree on two people qualifying now.
Yeah. I'll go out and say that I think Arsenal will probably win the FA Cup and lose the other two trophies. So I'll say that, which is still like a pretty good, a big accomplishment for Arteta, even if it's underwhelming for Arsenal fans. Really quick, George. Tomorrow, Champions League. We have got Liverpool going to Galatasaray. We have Barcelona going to Newcastle. We have Tottenham going to Atletico Madrid, and we have Bayern going to Atalanta. And these, I feel like each of these has a pretty clear favorite at this point.
Yes.
Which which of these ties do you feel like has most upset potential?
I would say maybe Newcastle against Barcelona because Galatasaray, even though Liverpool will be without Becca Alisson, their goalkeeper, I still think Liverpool, when it comes to Europe, there's a kind of motivation they normally have when they play. And I don't see Liverpool losing on the second trip to Galatasaray. Remember, they lost the last time they visited there during uh, the group stage. So,
How could I
but
forget?
I don't think it ended 1-0. This time around, I don't think that will happen. The best Galatasaray might get in that game is a draw. But I see Liverpool coming out with a good result in that game, if you ask me.
I think tomorrow that Newcastle have a very strong midfield and they can play even if Pedri play. Like they're one of like I think Tonali, Joe Linton, Bruno Gomes are fantastic. I feel like Newcastle's problems have been ahead and behind their midfield, and that gives a high floor for what Newcastle is capable of, especially in a Champions League competition where you can change tactics pretty regularly. So I think they have a good chance. I do think Galatasaray tomorrow at home can beat Liverpool. Galatasaray, I've been there. Is one of the best atmospheres I've ever been to in any sporting event ever. It was awesome. I think they'll get spanked next week in England, though, regardless of the result tomorrow. I think it's going to be 4-0 at Anfield next week. So
Okay, so you don't believe Liverpool will get any good result there at Istanbul tomorrow?
I think it'll be a tight game. It would not surprise me if Galatasaray won 2-1 or 1-0. I think Liverpool are going to spank them next week at Anfield, though. So I think tomorrow's result is largely inconsequential.
So
Newcastle Barcelona will be interesting, though.
yes, that's the match I'll be looking now to watch tomorrow. Remember, Barcelona has visited the St. James's Park during the group stage, and they got a victory in that game. I remember Marcus Rashford scored in that game.
Yeah,
But this time around, it's going to be very, very tough because Liverpool, the way Newcastle normally approach their game, they come with very high intensity and very aggression at the beginning of the game so that they can subdue the opponent and possibly score as much goals as possible so that they subdue you. So I feel they would like to approach the game same way. I don't know if it will be if they will be happy to lose for a second time in the Champions League against Barcelona. So I
yeah.
feel Newcastle might likely be the team that might surprise us this week in the Champions League. They might get a victory against Barcelona.
I personally will probably be watching Atalanta or Bayern and buy against Bayern because I've not seen Atalanta play this year. After a minute, and I'd like to see Bayern play more. I haven't gotten to see them play very much, and I on paper and everything I've read and seen on highlights, they seem like one of the best teams in Europe, and I believe that they are. But I'd love to verify with my own eyes. So George, I'm just going to close out with the standard questions. Number one, which Champions League team has the biggest upset tie that starts tomorrow has the biggest upset potential? Is it Galatasaray over Liverpool? Is it Newcastle over Barcelona? Is it Tottenham over Atletico Madrid? Or is it Atalanta over Bayern? Which FA Cup fixture has the most upset potential? Who wins, Liverpool or Man City? And is a Panelka penalty ever justified? Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for listening.